Hey, you guys, just thinking about one of my clients that I've worked with today and just being able to witness the change in her body, the way that her movements have changed. They're a lot smoother. There's not as much challenge in her body being able to take commands from her brain, and how exciting that is, and how I am intentional about making sure, or I was intentional about making sure that I reiterated this to her, because oftentimes we can't see what is going on with ourselves in regards to our progress. So make sure that, for your loved ones, especially your loved ones and people that you interact with, that you are intentional about pointing out things that you see that are motivational for them. And, even as I remember looking at a marriage, it was a couple that they specialize in marriage counseling, and they were speaking about how to, motivate your spouse, and how sometimes individuals can nag, and how that's counterproductive, and how you want to point out the thing or the activity, the behaviors, whatever it is that you want to see more of, versus always focusing on the thing that it's not desirable for you, or the thing that you don't like. And this is just so true. And so this is one of the things that I was intentional about doing, and especially with this person, because they were really uncomfortable with being in an environment, nervous about trying these new things, and how, they were wondering, like, am I doing this right? How does it look? So on and so forth. And, I just really want to understand what's going on with my client, and help in any way that God allows me to help them to not kind of fall into the trap of listening to things that aren't true. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much going through our minds, and oftentimes we don't get a chance to even kind of hash out what's going through our mind. We just have this sense of anxiety, or which is causes us to misrepresent ourselves to the ones that we don't want to. Well, we don't want to misrepresent ourselves to anyone, but especially not our loved ones. If you come off as being closed off or angry when really you're a kind person, that's counterproductive to you being able to cultivate and support relationships. But anyway, that's just something that I found to be really important. So for me, it's something I have to be intentional about. So what it reminded me of is this one thing, and just thinking about how important it is to not compare, and how that can be such a hindrance and a stumbling block to us being able to get healthy, or to accomplish anything. We're talking about health here because that's a challenge that's common in our society and in other societies, but especially the way ours is designed. And so being able to identify these hindrances really enables us to address them properly. And so this is one thing that I want to just remind us to replace, and to get to the root of, and to identify first, is, are you comparing yourself to other people? I remember telling one of my clients, no one is looking at you in the manner in which you think, or looking at me because I'm doing it wrong. You are an individual. And if you're constantly looking somewhere else, then how can you actually give yourself what you need? At the same time, you are an individual. So you literally cannot compare yourself to anyone else. Like, it just doesn't make sense, because you're comparing yourself to something that's completely different. You have those things that are similar, but our positioning, the way that we maneuver our experiences, just by the fact that we're two separate individuals, our experiences are different. And even that alone is going to affect what God put us here to do. I mean, if God put me here to support you, but I'm trying to be you, well, then you're not going to get the support you were supposed to get from me. So it doesn't work. And so I just want to remind us of that, is that it actually does not make sense to compare. And the thing is that you can't really see everything that God put on the inside of you if you're comparing yourself to someone else. Like, if I have a package here in front of me that has a multitude of things that I want, I need, I like, but I'm trying to look at someone else's package and get into their package, and I'm so concerned with theirs. Well, what I need is specifically in my package, and that's what we have. It's like we're a gift that even we ourselves are unpacking as we walk through life. And there's things that are in there that we don't even know that are in there, that are gifts from God, that then are starting to flourish as we take different as we walk further in life and through different seasons. And so just with that alone is counterproductive, because motivation and having hope is something we need in order to wake up and live. And if I'm not looking at what I actually have, then my hope is going to continue to drop to even places of hopelessness. And that's where we get into depression and these other things. And because I'm not seeing my true value. And I can't, if I'm comparing myself to somebody else, I can't look over here and look over here at the same time. And so I hope that makes sense, you all. But I just want to remind you of that also. Like I said, encourage one another in the things that you actually want to see more of and the things that you really appreciate. Like, even if it seems like it's insignificant, like, sometimes when someone just speaks, or that's things that might seem very simple, I'm just so grateful for that, because it gives me a puff of hope and energy to help me continue, through the day. And it helps to knock out whatever distraction might have been in my head. And so let's do that for one another. I don't care how foolish you might think you feel or whatever. Give away these verbal encouragements to another person. You say, oh, I already know it, or they may say, no, tell them the thing that is valuable about them, and then it will remind that person and help them to actually, once again, use what they actually have, which in turn is going to help somebody else, and it's going to allow them to thrive and do what they were put here to do. All right, you all, so I hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you all soon. You have a good day.